So the new moon in Libra is coming up, and it's a very, I think, climactic new moon in one way, because it's the last moon that's either a new moon or a full moon, a syzygy as we call them, in cardinal signs while Saturn is in Capricorn. So this is a climax in a way of Saturn's time in Capricorn, of the cardinal difficulty of the second half of the year, with Mars and Aries being overcome via a square from Saturn and Capricorn. But there's a lot of mitigation too. Let's get into it. So the chart of this new moon is really interesting because the moon will be new in the 24th degree of Libra. And Libra is ruled by Venus, by domicile. But the term of Venus, the Egyptian term, that little Egyptian division of the zodiac that was so popular in the ancient time, that term of the new moon is Venus as well. So we have double rulership with Venus, and Venus becomes very, very important then for understanding how this new moon might unfold, the feeling, the outcome, the disposition of the new moon. And remember, Venus is the planet of relationships. It's all about other people and you, how we interact, how we interface. Are our relationships healing us? Giving us pleasure, and not only my pleasure is the focus, but is there an exchange of pleasure in the relationship? Is it mutually beneficial, you might think? So we have to then go to the condition of Venus in this chart to try to understand what this new moon might bring. And fortunately, or unfortunately, and this is a great theme of this new moon, is the mixed condition of the moment. There's quite a lot of positive and some challenge, some great challenge actually. But Venus is in the sign of its fall in Virgo, and Venus in Virgo, there's difficulty around the notion of using the mental states and mental capacity to kind of distance one from the body and from the feeling of pleasure, or even distance from other people. And so it's how we kind of bring our experience into the thoughts and then are unable to then engage as a result of this sort of thought filter. That's the challenge of Venus in Virgo. However, the good news is that in this 7-degree zone of Virgo where Venus is, and where Venus will be during the new moon, Venus has quite a lot of dignity. Venus is in its own face or decan. Venus is in its own term. Remember that Egyptian division I spoke of. And Venus has rulership by what we call triplicity rulership, and that's just where each of the 4 elements and the signs that are given to those elements are ruled by a group of 3 planets. And Venus is one of the rulers of earth signs by triplicity. So there's all this mitigation that Venus has in this moment. And it tells me that there could be difficulty, relational difficulty, but that these are opportunities, and ultimately opportunities to bring a relationship or bring one's relations with others into accordance with some kind of higher principle. The other thing to note is that Virgo and Libra aren't making an aspect to each other. There's not a Ptolemaic aspect. And I think that there might be a sense of distance, or feeling a little bit of a distance or separation with other people that can come out of this. I've been seeing a lot of stories this week about anxiety and relationships, and I think that's another way that Venus fallen in Virgo can manifest, is that we think about relationships. We have anxiety. I mean, I've been in relationships. I'll speak about myself. And, it's very common when the thought about what's happening in a relationship that's not real, right? It's a future projection that's often not real, can come to dominate my experience. I think that the other thing that Mercury can signify is communication. I'm thinking about here how when I have a fear, a mental fear about someone else, it's good to just check in. It can often be good just to communicate. Hey, is this what's going on? Or how are you feeling? Or, I'm worried that, you don't like me anymore, you don't love me. That's not very attractive, I know, but sometimes if you're in a secure, safe relationship, you can even ask her, hey, I'm feeling unloved. Can you just tell me you love me and hug me? That might be something that you can ask for during this new moon. Really use your communication abilities to bring in those Venusian qualities. It might be good to sit down and do those mercurial budgets as a family, or as a house if you're living with housemates, and use the Mercury to bind as opposed to separate. Communicate to bring together as opposed to anxiety that moves people apart. We might be dealing with some of the loneliness that we had in the earlier part of the year. And I think the Mercury ruled Venus here might give us a chance to really lean into the way we're communicating with the new technologies even. I like that we have the ability to DM people or FaceTime and these types of things. It's also an earth sign, Virgo, and so I would really encourage communication with nature. I think that's very strongly shown in this chart. Getting out into that park in your neighborhood, talking to the plants and animals if you can, just even mentally if you're afraid to do it. Outwardly. I do it outwardly all the time. But there's a synergy that can come with our animal side. The human being has this animal side, right? We're in the animal body, and we can kind of be settled by moving through other natural environments. And so I'd really, really encourage that. I plan to go down to the Danube River soon and just be with the river, and there's some parks down there I really want to spend time on. That's how I plan to use the energy. Now, the other thing to note, Saturn still rules these skies. It's the king in the sky. And you might think, well, Venus in Virgo is ruled by Mercury in Scorpio, which is then ruled by Mars, and the new moon's ruled by Venus. So in that sense, Mars is the final dispositor of the new moon. However, Saturn and Jupiter are just hanging out in Capricorn where they've been. They're now moving direct. They're leading us toward this climactic winter solstice where they come together. And remember, Saturn is still earlier in zodiacal order from Mars, making that overcoming square. And that is why Saturn kind of, to my view and to my astrological lens, takes the cake in a way over these skies. Also, Mars is retrograde. Mars is really wrapped up in its own issues right now. So I've been saying that recently. Mars has got issues. And Mars is kind of off the table, really, doing its own thing. It's very hard for Mars to give what Mars would otherwise be giving as a ruler right now. And so Saturn isn't. Saturn has now got that momentum. It's with the benefic Jupiter, and Saturn is the ruler of these skies. All that's telling me is that this is, again, a climactic phase of this cardinal moment we've had in 2020 and of Saturn's time in Capricorn. It's coming to an end. This new moon is on the 16th of October. The 21st of December is a mere 2 months away in a few days when this whole energy is going to shift. And so this new moon sets us up for this final push through with Saturn and Jupiter moving now again forward in Capricorn. But think about the themes of 2020, which has been a very Saturnian, Saturn and Capricorn moment. Restriction, limitation, destruction of the old ways. These themes still have a say. There's a continuity of theme that is still really strongly present right now. And I mean, we all feel it. The world is still on its head, right? We're still figuring out how the world's going to get turned back over and settled into whatever that's going to be. But that's a very important part of this new moon and of these skies in general. I don't think there is this new moon in particular, Saturn still does a lot of work, and Saturn is making a very tight applying square to this new moon from that inferior position in Capricorn. But still, Saturn is sending those rays back as the moon and the sun are applying to Saturn. So it's very, very much this Saturnian moment of restriction. So I've been seeing a lot of stories in the news about the recession or depression that we're entering into as a result of many of the changes that have happened this year, that the economy has taken a big, big, big hit in a lot of places. And it doesn't surprise me that with this new moon being so closely aligned with Saturn, and Saturn still being the ruler, as it were, of the skies, I think we'll see more of that as we head into the fall, that there's going to be this sense of restriction. The restriction will gain traction. And it's the job to then have intervention, hopefully, by the authorities to help folks out. And that's what we ultimately are rooting for. But there is a great restriction. It's been sad for me. I've been traveling a little bit. Every city I visited this year has been really, really hit hard. I talk to people and they're just really sad. I'm sad actually because I see people's businesses have gone away. A lot of the tourism has just disappeared. Restaurants are closed. So there's this great contraction that I pin on this Saturn and Capricorn destructive feature. Remember, Earth is Capricorn. That's all of the transaction and the earth and the home and the environment. That's being really hemmed in and pruned, you might say, by Saturn. So we're seeing the final climax of that. This is part of the cardinal climax of 2020. This election is intimately tied to the Saturn restriction, the earth sign restriction. It's tied to what's coming as well. Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn in Aquarius will define the next president's term. And Saturn is a triplicity ruler of Libra. And so it's this square from Saturn. Saturn rules by triplicity, Libra. I think this is also a preview of maybe what we're going to see next year when Saturn in Aquarius really starts to dominate in a more active way. You know, in this new moon, it's also worth saying that we have a preponderance of cardinal placements. There's still more cardinal and mutable placements than fixed placements. Only one planet is in a fixed sign, that's Mercury in Scorpio, getting ready to go backwards. So how fixed can it be? And Mercury stations direct in Libra. But remember, cardinal signs are initiation. Mutable signs are all about that dual worlds that we're caught between. And there's not a lot of fixity right now. I think the transition that we're experiencing during this year is still in play here. We're still going to have some transition over the next 2 weeks as the end of the year climaxes, and then we get really fixed in this kind of new energy astrologically. The other thing that's very auspicious about this moon is that it happens very, very close to two auspicious fixed stars, two of the most auspicious fixed stars in the sky, Spica and Arcturus. This to me is one of the real silver velvet protectors of this moment. We've got the dignified Venus that's mitigating somewhat, and then we've got this fixed star conjunction. According to Ptolemy, Spica is like Venus and Mars, so we have that Venus again, and the Mars which is opposite the new moon, and Arcturus is like Jupiter and Mars. So we have a benefic with both of these planets, and then some martial energy. You know, martial energy can be very useful. You see in the ancient texts, often they talk about Mars being a general, and Mars being able to control and order things around. We need leaders. You know, Mars is a planet of leadership. But as both of these stars also are connected to a benefic planet, Venus and Jupiter, the planet of love, abundance, both of them planets of hope, I think that is where I'm leaning here. That there's a hope here that's maybe not coming to fruition right now, but that this seed, you know, the new moon, they say, is the seed, Rudyard, Firmicus, they'll talk about the new moon as the seed. I think there's some seeds here that might, you know, that we can plant potentially, that can maybe grow as we get into these different skies. And there's always opportunities, always pockets of hope. You know, I'm an astrologer that likes to acknowledge the pain and difficulty. We have to, can't deny that. But where's the hope? How can we use what's happening to maybe move into something better, more useful, more constructive, easier? Easier in the sense not avoidant, but of just the kind of ease and comfort that we deserve as human beings. You know, we're sentient beings. Ease and comfort are our birthright, I believe. And it's an inner ease and comfort, no matter what's happening on the outside. We have access to that. That part of the new moon is that new seed, like I said, but then you have that opposition from Mars. And so Mars is kind of coming, you can think about an opposition as really contradictory aims, you know, moving in opposite directions. And so there's a real push-pull here, I feel like. You want that newness with the new moon. However, Mars is retrograde, doing its own thing. That preoccupied Mars, I feel like, is really blocking things right now. I was tweeting about it this week that Mars is staying so long in Aries that it's not able to do the work that Mars can do when it moves more quickly. You know, Mars can really change things and bring action and energy to parts of the zodiac. And so there's a sense of blockage or a stoppage or a clog with this Mars retrograde. And that's opposing this new moon somewhat close. The Mars is about 4 degrees from this new moon in Aries. With Spica is a star in the constellation Virgo. Virgo holds some wheat in her hands in that constellation. So it's kind of the earth. Again, I was talking about getting into the earth, connecting with the earth as a way to feel through this moment. Or, you know, Menelaus talks about the Virgo constellation as training one's mind in the learned arts, right? You think about Mercury ruling Virgo and that learned quality that can come with that Virgoian energy. I also think about Virgo being associated with the Hermit in the tarot, with that shining that light, holding up that light. You might think about the sheath where Spica is as a kind of light that we can go into the earth. We can kind of, even if we need to isolate a little bit with that Saturn and have that inner light. Study right now. That's a way to go with this. Study, learn. What are you learning? What are you studying? What skills are you trying to gain to benefit yourself? This Spica conjunction can really undergird any of those choices you've made. And then Arcturus. Arcturus is a star right in the knee of the herdsman, Bootes. It's a constellation of a really strong, you know, man that is out hunting. the hunter or the herdsman. And Manilius talks about this star being connected to, in this constellation, someone who protects the king's assets. And I think that is something to consider right now. What are you doing to protect your assets and your possessions? This might be a time of inventorying what you've got, cleaning out things, just making sure that your space is organized, functional. And that's what a herdsman does. The assets are the sheep, and they're controlling and maintaining those assets. And so this herdsman energy, it's giving you, I think, it's giving us a little bit of an ability and to manage the resources that we've been entrusted with, right? So think about that. How can you manage those resources during this time? It's very auspicious energy. I mean, this is like a new moon with a lot of amplified difficulty and a lot of mitigation. It's not to be dismissed. Let's do a tarot reading. How about that? Let's pull some cards. Let's see how the cards can give us a different sense of the energy. Let's do it. So let's get some cards, just to kind of chill. I've been thinking about, as the weather, the weather's getting cooler. Sometimes Libra season can be a planning time for getting our signals straight as we get into more challenged weather. So you might want to think about that. Who's your network right now? What people can you reach out to and connect with during what will be looks like to be a very cold winter? All right, so first card here. It's your first card for the new moon in Libra. And we've got that beautiful Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts, yeah, this is in my system associated with Scorpio, so it's right where Mercury will be retrograding. The card is the Death card in the Tarot. The Tarot Trump. So yeah, Mercury retrograding back over this part of the sky with this card being pulled. I think I've written a lot about on Twitter the idea of Mercury retrograde being about digging into the emotions. What deep-seated emotional structures have dominated your perception and are sort of controlling how you perceive reality. I think with Mercury, anytime I see it, I think writing, so deliberate, written answers to the question, what are my emotions, and just getting them on paper. It's so revelatory sometimes just to write something down and see it there. Like, I've been obsessing about this all day, and I can see it, and then it sort of takes it out of me and out of that dominance over my selfhood. So that's what I think about with this card. And as Mercury's moving backwards here, I think it's very important to be willing and open to digging in to how things have been operative up into this time, because that's what the backward motion allows us to do. Once things are forward, hopefully it'll give us a new sense of a new hat or a little bit of new clothes when we've reviewed things. So that's what I see with this card. Very important, this scorpionic energy, especially as the sun will ingress into Scorpio later this month, that this is a preview of that scorpionic energy. And the Death card is regenerative. Things die to be reborn. I've never had hair this long, by the way, but I've been growing it out, and sometimes it falls and it's kind of rejuvenating itself. What do you think? Let's get that second card. So I love that, Scorpio, Queens. And this also could be with the Queen, a woman that's in your life. Maybe you've got a woman that's having, that's emotional right now, or someone that is really processing emotions that you need to be there for. That's often what the new moon in Libra can also signify, is other people, being there for other people, letting other people have their process, and then being that supporting cast for other people as they're going through the process. That's what love is. Hey, what do you need, babe? How you doing? What do you need? Can I help you? Can I serve you? Oh, you don't want to talk to me today? Okay, cool. And just take a step back. All right, let's get that second card. The second card is, well, this is cool, the Sun. It's a perfect little card here to think about what happens on a new moon. The new moon is that sun seeding the moon with its light. They join in the sky. We can't even see the moon. I just go back right now, when I see the sun, I think about where is the sun in the chart, in the sky. And remember, the sun is in Libra. The sun is in its fall in Libra. The sun is having to be deferential to other people, take a back seat. The light in my mind, my perception, my understanding, my insight, while important, may need to be integrated into that of other people. And so I'm really encouraging folks to, again, ask other people, what's up with you? How are you doing? What do you need? Really be differential to others with this sun in Libra, however difficult it might be, And again, this new moon is about those relationships. So use this seeding of the moon with the sun's light to see how you can feel for others, empathize with others, and be present with other people. And as always, you can book an astrology reading with me, sjanderson144.com. Just click that top link. Click here to schedule a reading, and it'll take you right to my readings page. I love to read. I love to read for you. Yeah, have a lovely week ahead. Enjoy the energy. As challenging as it is, try to keep a smile, just smile. I think about it like this, the awe of reality, how much of a blessing it is to be in this reality at this time.